Speedway Golden Helmet.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Hello and welcome along to Pardubice in Czechoslovakia for the 1990 staging of the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. One of the most prestigious events on the Speedway calendar is riders are invited from all over the world to take part in this colourful and glamorous meeting. Well, Pardubice, of course, is the venue. You saw it recently on Screen Sport with the World Team Cup Championship taking place here, which was, of course, won by America. Well, we're straight into the semi-final stages, and this is heat number 25. In red, we've got Jeremy Doncaster from England. Blue, Peter Randovic. In white is Zdeněk Tesar. Yellow and black is Armando Castagna. In green, which is a new helmet colour to people watching, is Lenny Jedek. And in black and white is Tony Kasper, home favourite, of course, Tony Kasper, here in Czechoslovakia. And this is the first of the semi-finals, heat number 25. And away they try from the start of the first one, is showing white is Zdeněk Tesar. Doncaster on the inside of him, and also there in the blue helmet colour is Van der Eck. But just look at Tesar driving around the outside of Jeremy Doncaster. Tesar was a Wario character, of course, in the World Final you saw it recently, but Doncaster takes the easy line around the third and fourth turn, and he's back to pole position. 6 riders in a race you may have recognised already. I forgot to tell you that in the opening sequence, and that is probably the only meeting you'll see now in World Speedway that will take place. Now in blue, Tony Kasper coming up to put Van der Eck, shall I say, coming up to put pressure on Tesar. Van der Eck on the inside, Tesar on the outside. They're having a rear-off battle. But still it is Doncaster with one more lap to go in first place. Oh my word, we've lost Armando Castagna, who clipped the back wheel there of the rider coming out of that turn. He looks in some sort of discomfort on the track. Armando Castagna, of course, from Italy, rides for the Reading 4X races in the Samurai League, and he doesn't look too happy. The riders and officials coming out. John Davis, the first rider out of the pits to see how Armando is. We'll take another look at that incident in just a few moments, and there we see straight away the precautions of the ambulance coming on to this superbly prepared track in Pardubice. He's a Wario character, is Armando, but we keep our fingers crossed. It's never nice falling off a machine at the speeds that these young fellas go at. Here we take another look. The rider there in blue, who's Peter Van der Eck, and all of a sudden Armando comes from the back, clips him. Van der Eck goes all over the place. Armando this time parts company with his machine. Machine goes one way, then it's roly-poly time for Armando. And we just keep our fingers crossed that the likeable Italian has not done no serious damage to himself, and he can continue in this Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. So there we are, Armando Castagna being looked at by the track doctor, and you may recall that the track came under some harsh criticism from riders and officials of the World Team Cup final, but there's plenty of dirt down this afternoon. The old Czechs didn't like the criticism, and certainly as we see Armando walking back to the pits, there's room for manoeuvring on the outside and the inside line on Pardubice on this particular meeting, the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Armando Castagna walking back to the pits, no doubt, although excluded from the rerun of heat number 25, will be continuing in this afternoon's meeting. So heat number 26 is going to take place next. Heat number 25, or the rerun of this race, will take place after this one. A little bit strange, but that's the way the Czech authorities are going to do it. In this one we've got, in red, we've got Martin Dugard, of course, from England. In blue, Gary Havelock from England. White, Sándor Tihanyi from Hungary. In yellow-black, Mighty Mick Shear from New Zealand. In green, Paul Thorpe from England. And in black and white, Kelly Moran from the US of A. But I can tell you they're packed like sardines in this Pardubice stadium. An estimated 18,000 crowd come to witness the 42nd staging of this prestigious event. But there we are, the rider in white, Sándor Tihanyi from Hungary. You may have recalled seeing him in the World Pairs final in Landshut in Germany, when, along with his partner Zoltán Adorján, they finished in third place, a very creditable third place for the Hungarian pairing in that event. A meeting won by the Danes of Jan Petersen and Hans Nielsen. And you may recall, of course, those two men from Australia, Todd Wutcher and Lee Adams, coming in second place on that occasion. But there we are, Sándor Tihanyi, getting ready to come out in heat number 26. There we see the goggles and the protection visors going on as well, as Martin Dugard comes out onto the track. Well, Martin Dugard certainly has had a good season with the Oxford Skull Cheetahs in the British League back in England. Also races for Dakarna in the Swedish Elite League. Dakarna at the moment fixed firmly to the bottom of the league and look like being relegated to Division 1 in 1991. So they come out onto the track for heat number 26. As you see, Mick Shearer coming out, which of course not taking part in the Sunbike League this year, but plenty of bookings for Mighty Mitch on the continent in 1990. And this one they all want to race in, because that Czechoslovakian golden helmet is worth around about £5,000 to the winner. And Jeremy Doncaster, of course, from England, is the current holder of the title. So there we see a good shot of the width of this track, which is the only one safe to host 6 riders in a race, as Gary Havelock comes down the ramp onto the track. A lot of the tracks, including Landshut in Germany, which was the scene of the pairs final one. You may recall that poor Simon Cross done so much damage to his back, and it's been ruled out of Speedway for another year, which is sad news for English Speedway. So you're looking at perhaps the only venue now which will host 6 riders in a race, and Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet, a meeting you'll see always exclusively here on Screen Sport, is the only one which will feature 6 riders in a race. Well, the qualifying heats are all over 4 laps. I can tell you that the consolation final and the big one itself, the grand final, will be over 6 laps, but that's all to come here in Pardubice as we now watch for the tapes rise on heat number 26. Starting marshal calling them in. Walking away as the green light goes on, and away they drive from the start, and the first one to show is Paul Thorpe in green, tucked in his visors, and red of Martin Dugard is there as well. It's Martin Dugard and Paul Thorpe. Gary Havelock back in third place in blue, and coming up the inside in white is Sándor Tihanyi. Mick Shearer has come through as well, so he's changed positions in the minor ones. As we see the battle there between Mick Shearer on the inside and Sándor Tihanyi on the outside. In red in second place is Martin Dugard, but it's Paul Thorpe at the moment with his nose in front. Mick Shearer come through to third place over Sándor Tihanyi. Kelly Ran is back in 5th place. So Paul Thorpe is your leads. Martin Dugard second, Mick Shearer third, Sándor Tihanyi fourth, Kelly Moran fifth, and Gary Havelock tailed off in 6th place. This is heat number 26 of the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet, and Paul Thorpe looking pretty good as he takes the checker flag. It's Thorpe that gets the 5 points, 4 points to Martin Dugard, who finished second. Mick Shearer gets the 3 points for third. Sándor Tihanyi gets 2 points for finishing 4th, and Kelly Moran 1 point for finishing in 5th place. But good old Paul Thorpe, who of course rides for the Bradford Colite Jutes in the Sunbright League. He gets the 5 points as he wins this particular heat and gives good old Gary Havelock a lift back to the pits, who suffered engine problems on lap number 3. So they are a good start to the semi-finals for Paul Thorpe. As we take another brief look as the tapes rise on this particular heat. To this stage, it's Mick Shearer who lifts, and Paul Thorpe gets the best drive. Thorpe, with the green helmet colour strapped inside his goggle strap, which is not easy to identify at this moment in time. It's Martin Dugard in pole position, Tihanyi in white, but just look at Thorpe getting the grip, getting the traction, drives round the outside of Gary Havelock, then Tihanyi, and now just about to make up some ground on good old Martin Dugard. And it is Paul Thorpe who looks over the audacity of him and looks over his shoulders at Martin Dugard. So there we see the flags on the stadium, and there he is, Jem, just waiting to come out for a few skids. Jeremy Doncaster, of course, number 2 in this Czechoslovakian gold helmet. He comes here as the winner last year. He would dearly love to win it yet again. Jeremy Doncaster, of course, rides for the Reading Forex races in the Sunbright League, and what a season he's having. Overseas Speedway champion, you may recall, meeting you saw here on Screen Sport. And at the moment in time, Reading looking pretty set for the Sunbright League title in 1990. So what a marvellous year for Jeremy Doncaster. And there is mechanic Dougie giving him the assistance, heavily sponsored, of course, by Furnasite and good old Chalfont coaches on the outskirts of London. So the next one on the agenda is the restart, rerun should I say, of heat number 25, with the exclusion of Armando Castagna, who was judged to be the cause of the stoppage of that particular heat. So 5 riders only as we look ahead now to heat number 25. Jeremy Doncaster there in the red helmet colour. In blue will be Peter van der Rijck. In white is Zdeněk Tesar. No yellow and black, Armando Castagna excluded. In green is Lenny Jedek. And in black and white is good old Tony Kasper. So there we see the old strap going on Jeremy Doncaster's right hand. And that, of course, cuts the engine out should a rider or machine part company. A safety cut out as it's officially known. So Jem, the last one onto the track for the restart of heat number 25. Tony Kasper, Peter van der Rijck waiting patiently, along with Zdeněk Tesar. As Doncaster comes into gate number 1. So here we go. The last one to settle is rider in black and white, which is Tony Kasper. And there the bikes rev. And away they drive from the start, and the first one to show is Doncaster Red. Doncaster Red is pole position, coming around the outside. In black and white is Tony Kasper, now takes the lead. Doncaster in second place. Tesar in white in third, green. Lenny Jedek is in fourth position, but Doncaster really was in pole position, but caught with the proverbial trousers down by a good burst of speed by Tony Kasper around the outside. And now the rider in white, Tesar, coming around the outside of Lenny Jedek for third place. And the rider in blue, Peter van der Rijck, back in fifth at the moment. There's Tony Kasper in pole position. Kasper in the black and white helmet colour. Jeremy Doncaster red in second place. Zdeněk Tesar white third, with one more lap to go in the restart of heat number 25. So then the back straight for the final time. There'll be a great start to the semi-final billing of this Czechoslovakian gold helmet for the home rider. The Czechs are getting ready to cheer this boy home. Is Tony Kasper gets a Czech flag. Kasper wins. Doncaster second. Tesar third, and in fourth place is Zdeněk, who gets the solitary 2 points, and van der Rijck gets 1. So good 5 points there for Tony Kasper, 4 to Jeremy Doncaster, 3 to Zdeněk Tesar, 2 to Lenny Jedek, and 1 to Peter van der Rijck. Just to let you know that there has already been 24 qualifying heats, and this is now the start of the semi-final stages. With heats number 25 and 26 taking part. Now wait for heat number 27. Let's just take a look at the start then as they raced into the first and second turn. At this precise moment, it was Zdeněk Tesar who first gets his wheels in line, racing into the first turn. Doncaster on the inside, van der Rijck sandwiched between them. But just look at the rider on the outside there in 29 in black and white, getting the drive, getting the traction. Tesar lifts, but he doesn't put Kasper off. He's now taken Tesar, and now is just about to take Jeremy Doncaster. He had the best line of all on that particular first and second turn, and then from that moment onwards, it was Tony Kasper who gets the drive. There we see from the first bend camera Doncaster gets a good start, and so does Zednik Tassar. And just look at the rider there, number 29 on his back. Tony Kasper from Czechoslovakia takes Tassar, and all of a sudden comes up to put pressure on Jeremy Doncaster. And as that moment passes there, he takes the lead and never looks back. So there we are. It was a good 5 points for Tony Kasper from Czechoslovakia. Jeremy Doncaster from that moment onwards has to be content with 4, although Tassar puts the challenge on but drifts terribly, terribly wide on the 3rd and 4th turn. And Doncaster takes the 4 points. Tassar gets 3, Jenik gets 2, and Van der Rijck gets 1. Join us for more International Speedway after the break. Welcome back to Pardubice in Czechoslovakia for the 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Heat number 27 of the semi-final stages of this competition. With the rider in red, Lenny Jenik. In blue is Tony Kasper. In white is Jeremy Doncaster. In yellow and black is Peter Van der Rijck. In green is Zednik Tassar. And in black and white, Armando Castagna. Well, just to tell you that there are 12 riders in this semi-finals. The first 6 will take part in heats 25, 27 and 29, and the other 6 will take part in heats 26, 28 and 30. And this is heat number 27 as they drive from the start, and the first for the show is Jeremy Doncaster in white, and red. Also there is Zednik. Jenik is there as well. They're coming around the outside. Oh my word, just look at the rider in green, come from nowhere, which is Zednik Tassar. Tassar drives underneath Jeremy Doncaster, and it was awfully, awfully close on that 3rd turn. But at the moment it's Doncaster and Tassar, and the rider in red, Lenny Jenik, is also there, which is a little bit of a surprise. Tony Kasper and Armando Castagna fighting for the minor places. And Castagna really has got to pick up some points after being excluded in heat number 25. But at the moment, the rider in green is Zednik Tassar from Czechoslovakia leads the rider in white, Jeremy Doncaster. Lenny Jenik back in 3rd place. Then it's Tony Kasper and Armando Castagna. But it would be a good scalp for the rider in red. And then of course is Lenny Jenik if he can keep out those 2 riders. Now Tony Kasper coming up to put a bit of pressure on him. Tassar in pole place, Doncaster 2nd. And it is Tassar that wins. Doncaster in 2nd place. Lenny Jenik gets the 3rd spot. But my word, that rider there, Zednik Tassar, done all the work on the 3rd turn as he came underneath the pack. So Doncaster gets the 4 points, Jenik gets 3, Kasper 2, and Castagna just 1. And Armando Castagna looking to struggle a little bit to get into the grand final. So the 12 riders in this particular semi-finals, the bottom 6 in scoring after the semi-final stages will go into a consolation final, and the top 6 will go into the grand final, and they're both over 6 laps. Let's take another look though at heat number 27 as they race from the start. At this moment in time it was Jeremy Doncaster in white who had the drop on them as they go into the 1st and 2nd turn. The rider in blue also there was Tony Kasper and Lenny Jenik as well. And coming around the outside in black and white was Armando Castagna, so they were the ones mixing it. Castagna, Jenik and Doncaster at this precise moment. You just watch the rider in green as he enters the 3rd time. It's a mercenary mission for him. He's no holds barred, and he drives underneath the pack to get the 5 points. Let's take another look from the starting gate position. The camera on the 1st turn. Doncaster gets a very, very good start from gate 3. And so does the rider in blue, which was Tony Kasper. And coming around the outside in black and white is Armando Castagna as well. And at this moment in time, Zednik Tassar had a lot of work to do, but he gets the grip. He fears no evil. And from this moment onward, he drives under the pack on the 3rd and 4th turn. Here he goes. Zednik Tassar, with leaving nothing to be desired, sees the gap, sees an inch and takes a foot and drives underneath Lenny Jenik, Armando Castagna and Jeremy Doncaster. It really was awfully, awfully close, but a brave bit of speedway riding, and there's not many tracks that the likes of Zednik Tassar could have done that on, but he does it on the 3rd and 4th turn and gets the 5 points. So heat number 28 with Mitch Shearer coming out in a black and white. Mitch Shearer, you may recall, 3 points from the first semi-final. So Mitch Shearer is in black and white. Martin Dugard is in white. Red is Paul Thorpe. Blue, Kelly Moran. White, Martin Dugard. Yellow and black, Gary Havelock. Green is Sándor Tihanyi, and black and white is good old Mitch Shearer, and this is heat number 28 of the semi-final stages of the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. 18,000 crowd, and as you already may have guessed, it's 5 points for a win, 4 for second, 3 for third, 2 for fourth, and 1 for fifth, and you don't get nothing for coming last, not in this game. Starting marshal calling in the rider in blue, which is Kelly Moran, who's not having a very, very good afternoon in Pardubice. So the starting marshal has now got them all lined up, the green light's on, and away they drive from the start, and the first one to show as they enter the turn is the rider in red, which is Paul Thorpe. Paul Thorpe, just looking around the outside, is Mitch Shearer, and the outside line proving very favourable in this afternoon's Golden Helmet. A lot of criticism, of course, in the World Team Cup final from all the riders concerned, but Mitch Shearer comes through. In second place in blue is Kelly Moran. In third place in red is Paul Thorpe, and Gary Havelock in yellow and black has come through to third place now. So Havelock's come through to third. Can he mount up a ground on Kelly Moran? Sándor Tihanyi is in fourth place, and Martin Dugard at the moment is back in sixth, which is not good news for qualification for the grand final for Martin. But at the moment it's Mighty Mitch as he's known. Of course, races for Reading. When he does race, of course, that is in the Sunbright League. But Mitch Shearer at the moment, in the black and white helmet colour, with surely 5 points tucked into his belt if he can stay out of trouble. Still Kelly Moran second. Gary Havelock coming up to put pressure on Kelly Moran. But Mitch Shearer is clear of the pack, and it's Mitch Shearer that gets the checker flag. Kelly Moran in second place. In third place is Gary Havelock. Fourth, Paul Thorpe. Fifth was Sándor Tihanyi. And Martin Dugard back in sixth place. Well, there he is, Mitch Shearer from New Zealand. 5 world final appearances for Mitch. Of course, late '89 was his last in Munich. He gets the 5 points and looking pretty good for a final appearance in the grand final here in the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. So let's take another look as the riders lead the start. And a good start it was indeed for several of the riders. Martin Dugard there on the rider in red, Paul Thorpe. But just look at Mitch Shearer picking up the dirt, picking up the traction and picking off the riders as he comes out of the second turn. At this moment in time, it was the red helmet colour and blue of Kelly Moran as well there. But just look at Mitch. First picks off Paul Thorpe and Martin Dugard, and now picks off Kelly Moran and goes on to take the 5 points in heat number 28. Another look at the start from the camera over the start line, and Mitch Shearer on the outside at this moment in time, level with the pack. Martin Dugard and Paul Thorpe with the riders in with a shout, and Kelly Moran now comes up to join them. Gary Havelock and Tihanyi are out of contention, but just look at Mitch. First of all, he picks off Martin Dugard, then he picks off Kelly Moran, and then right now picks off Paul Thorpe to go on to take the checker flag as he wins heat number 28. So the crowd really looking forward to what we hope will be a grand climax to this 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. 18,000 spectators, and I told you the 6 qualifying races in the semi-final stages, and at the end of all we'll just have 6 riders for the grand final, and the bottom 6 will go into the consolation final. The only drastic thing you have to say is if riders do get enough points in heats 25, 26, 27 and 28, of course they're not necessary to come out in the final outing in the semi-final stage. That's a little bit complicated, but what it means to say is if they win their first 2 qualifying heats in perhaps 25 and 27, there's no need for them to come out in heat number 29. So we'll have to wait and see if all of the 6 competitors come out for heat number 29. Jeremy Doncaster is in it, Tony Kasper is in it, of course Lenny Zedek, Zednik Tassar, Amanda Castagna and Peter Vanderek. Of course, Castagna has taken a nasty tumble in heat number 25, and he realises, of course, that he can't possibly go through to the grand final. So Peter Vanderek also is one of those riders who will probably realise that he can't get through as well. And perhaps that's a little bit of a drawback with this particular format. No doubt you'll let us know in the letterbox if you can see a drawback with this particular format as we look at Martin Dugard, Gary Havelock and Paul Thorpe in the English section of the pits. And there we go, Jeremy Doncaster walking by. And they've all done their calculations. They know what they've got to do to get through to the grand final. But no guessing to see whose bike that is. That is Armando Castagna. The pit's very spacious in Pardubice. And what is a nice afternoon for speedway racing. There is the grand golden helmet itself, which will be presented to the winner after heat number 32. 32 races in this Czechoslovakian golden helmet. Good value for money for the 18,000 spectators who have come along to Pardubice on this Sunday afternoon to watch the golden helmet meeting. So it does look from the scoreboard as though we will probably only have 3 or 4 riders for heat number 29, which is a little bit sad to say the least. We're going to have a rider in green, which is Jeremy Doncaster, a rider in yellow and black, which will be Tony Kasper, and white, which will be Lenny Jedek. But we'll have to wait and see if the other 3 decide to come out. The fans getting a little bit impatient at the moment, waiting to see what's going to happen. You may hear them cheering in the background. Certainly in our commentary position, they're not very happy with the fact that 3 of them are not going to come out. So it looks as though it's going to be 3 riders only for heat number 29. Tony Kasper, yellow and black. Lenny Jedek in white and Jeremy Doncaster in green. Well, of course, good old Jem coming out for another skid. He likes Pardubice. He rates it is probably his favourite track in the world, and this guy's been all over the world. He races in Australia during the winter, where he takes his lovely family over with him for a break from what has been a hectic speedway season in Europe. The World Championship events take their toll, and of course the heavy schedule in the Sunbright League, where Jem races for the Reading 4X racers, who are on course at the moment for the Sunbright League title in 1990. So it could be a great season for Jem if he can lift that Sunbright League trophy. The Reading 4X races are also through to the Knockout Cup, so it's going to be a very busy schedule for Jeremy Doncaster in the closing weeks of the 1990 Speedway season back in England. But this is all about Czechoslovakia. It's a Czechoslovakian golden helmet, and these riders need just a few more points to be assured of getting through to the grand final of the Czechoslovakian golden helmet. So 3 riders only in heat number 29, which is a little bit sad. If you've got any thoughts on this format, then drop us a line here at Screen Sport, 108 Wardour Street, London. Drop them to me, Clive Fisher, Screen Sport, 180 Wardour Street, London, and let me know exactly what your feelings are. The 3 riders only, Jeremy Doncaster green, yellow and black Tony Kasper, and white Lenny Jedek. This is heat number 29, is a race from the start, and the first to show is Jeremy Doncaster in green, Tony Kasper in yellow and black, and Lenny Jedek back in 3rd place. So a relative minor match race between 3 riders. Match race in terms, of course, there are 6 in a race in this Czechoslovakian golden helmet. But Jeremy Doncaster in pole position, Tony Kasper 2nd, Lenny Jedek 3rd. And Jedek hasn't been too bad, it's fair to say. He's a rider that we haven't heard a lot about in meetings in Europe in 1990. But he certainly isn't spoiling his name whatsoever as he tries to keep up with Tony Kasper. That's what he's trying desperately hard to do. Jeremy Doncaster, pole position. Tony Kasper still 2nd. Lenny Jedek 3rd. In the latter stages of heat number 29. Well, there's not an awful lot to shout for, but Jeremy Doncaster, if he gets his 5 points, he's through to the grand final, and that's all matters. Tony Kasper will get the 4 if he can stay out of trouble. And his doggest of the wins, Kasper in 2nd place, and Lenny Jedek back in 3rd. So 5 good points to Jeremy Doncaster, who does the biz in heat number 29. 4 points to Tony Kasper, and 3 to Lenny Jedek, who gets the 3rd place. So no 4th, no 5th, no 6th. But it's Jeremy Doncaster and Tony Kasper who go through, of course, to the grand final of the 1990 Czechoslovakian gold helmet. Lenny Jedek will be appearing in the consolation final. So Jem, he knows now he's through to the big one. He's competed in the second bout of qualifying rounds here in Pardubice, after appearing in a grass track meeting in Germany last night, and then catching the flight down to Czechoslovakia this morning. So Jeremy Doncaster, pleased with life, no doubt. He now has to wait for the consolation final to take part before he appears in the grand final. But before that, we have heat number 30. So the final heats of the semi-final stages of this Czechoslovakian gold helmet, heat number 30. And it features, of course, Gary Havelock, Mitch Shearer, Kelly Moran, Martin Dugard, Sándor Tihanyi and Paul Thorpe. And all these riders desperately looking for points to see who will go forward to the big one. And that is the final itself. Mitch Shearer looks pretty set at the moment. Mitch has got 8 points. Paul Thorpe has got 7. Kelly Moran has got 5. So there we go. It's difficult to see what's going to happen when these tapes rise, but they all want one to get through to that big final. Martin Dugard is also there as well. Sadly through in his last outing in heat number 28, but he's on 4 points at the moment. Sándor Tihanyi, he's on 3. And Gary Havelock is on 3 points as well. So Sándor Tihanyi and Gary Havelock on 3, Paul Thorpe 7, Martin Dugard 4, Kelly Moran 5 and Mitch Shearer on 8 points. So they all know what they've got to do to get through to the big one. That's the grand final. But before we do that, this is heat number 30. The final qualifying heat before we go into the two finals, the consolation and the big final itself of the Czechoslovakian gold helmet. The pictures coming exclusively, as always, from the hotshot cameras of Screen Sport. This is Pardubice in Czechoslovakia on Sunday, September the 30th. Kelly Moran coming out. You'll see the yellow and black helmet colour tucked inside the strap of his goggles. So the full lineup: in red is Sándor Tihanyi, in blue is Mitch Shearer, and he's got his helmet colour tucked inside the visor as well. In white is Paul Thorpe, yellow and black Kelly Moran, green Martin Dugard, and black and white is Gary Havelock. That's the lineup for week number 30 as the starting marshal calls them in to the line. Getting very, very patient is the all-action starting marshal here in Pardubice. I hope you can hear us all the time in our commentary position. It's very, very noisy. Starting marshal walks away, and away they drive from the start. And who's going to show first? It's Kelly Moran and Mitch Shearer in that order. Coming around the inside is Gary Havelock. Gary Havelock head down, and just look at these three going in. Gary Havelock driving round the outside of Mitch Shearer. Kelly Moran back in third place. It's still Mitch Shearer at the moment, but Gary Havelock with one lap gone. Mitch Shearer on the inside, Havelock on the outside, Kelly Moran third. In green is Martin Dugard fourth, and Havelock's done it. A brave and tenacious drive, and daredevil Gary Havelock comes through the first place with 2 laps gone. Mitch Shearer second, and if Gary Havelock can hold on, this will put him through to the final in his first appearance in the Czechoslovakian gold helmet. Mitch Shearer knows he's through if he can hold on. Kelly Moran, well, if Kelly Moran stays there, he's out of things in the grand final. Martin Dugard is in 4th place, and Martin Dugard will also appear in the consolation final. So those two, Gary Havelock and Mitch Shearer, will be through to the big one if they can hold on. Gary Havelock it is, who gets a checkered flag. Mitch Shearer is in 2nd place. Kelly Moran third, but it's Gary Havelock who punches the air with delight, and who can blame him? He comes from the back in great style to win heat number 30. 5 points to Gary Havelock. He finishes on 8. Mitch Shearer gets 4. He finishes on... Sorry, Gary Havelock finishes on 8. Mitch Shearer finishes on 12. Kelly Moran finishes on 8. Martin Dugard on 6. Sándor Tihanyi on 4. And Paul Thorpe finishes on 7. But let's take another look at the start of heat number 30 as the tapes rise from our commentary position here in Pardubice And at this moment in time, it's all the work to do, as you can see, as Gary Havelock is way out of things on the outside. At this moment in time, it's Mitch Shearer and Kelly Moran, and also in red, Sándor Tihanyi. And Gary Havelock is in 6th place at the moment. He picks off Paul Thorpe, he picks off Martin Dugard, he picks off Sándor Tihanyi, and just look at him go. Now it's all a question of Mitch Shearer and Kelly Moran as he drives down the back straight. Just look at the weight on the back wheel, and it's 3 of them locked together going into the 3rd and 4th turn. Mitch Shearer on the inside. He's now taken Kelly Moran. He now comes up to put pressure on Mitch Shearer. At this stage, it's 2-horse race between Gary Havelock on the outside, Mitch Shearer on the inside. My word, what a race from Gary Havelock. Mitch Shearer knows that he only needed 3 points, and he'd done it the hard way, but Gary Havelock goes on to win. Let's take another look as the tapes rise from our camera on the first turn. And just keep your eyes on the bloke on the left-hand side of your screen in the black and white helmet colour. That, of course, is Gary Havelock. At this moment in time, he's in 6th place, but he picked them off at 1 by 1. First is Paul Thorpe, then it's Martin Dugard, then it's Sándor Tihanyi, and now he's through to 3rd place, and he's got his eyes set on Kelly Moran and Mitch Shearer down the back straight. All the weight on that back wheel, just getting the maximum amount of traction out of that machine. Now he takes on Kelly Moran, he's through to 2nd place, and now he's got Mitch Shearer in his sights. And round the outside of Mitch Shearer he comes, and from that moment onward, Gary Havelock, there we see, telling Sean Moran, who's in the pits, exactly what he's done. John Smith, who of course organises the trips for these British-based riders over to the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Oh, what a great job you do, John. Gary Havelock must be pleased for life. Comes through to take the 5 points, and that puts him through to the grand final of the 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. And the full lineup for that one is Jeremy Doncaster, Tony Casper, Zdeněk Tassar, Gary Havelock, Mitch Shearer and Paul Thorpe. That's the 6 riders who will compete in the grand final. And that's next, and that's coming up very shortly. Martin Dugard, Armando Castagna, Kelly Moran, Sándor Tihanyi, Peter Randerek and Lenny Jedek will be the riders in the consolation final. But that's all to come, but join us for the conclusion of the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet after the break. Welcome back to Pardubice in Czechoslovakia for the conclusion of the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. But before we do, let's just take a look at one of the qualifying races, heat number 19. So heat number 19 of the qualifying stage is the second qualifying stages in the Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. In red is Mike Ott, blue is Mitch Shearer, white is Richard Dolomici, in yellow and black is Gary Havelock, and in green is Lenny Jedek, and in black and white is Sean Moran. But just look already, it's Paul who's going to cause all the trouble in white. Richard Dolomici coming up to put pressure on all of them, but it's still the rider there, Mitch Shearer, who heads the pack at the moment. Mighty Mitch, number 26 on his back. But now coming round, Gary Havelock to take the Polish rider, Richard Dolomici. In green, in 4th place is Lenny Jedek. And just recall, this is heat number 19 of the second qualifying stages. They're all looking for a place in the semi-final stages of this Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. At the moment in time, it's looking pretty good for Mitch Shearer. Still in 2nd place is Gary Havelock. Coming through to take 3rd place is Lenny Jedek. And 4th, the Polish rider who done all the hard work, Richard Dolomici. Still in the white helmet colour in 4th place, Mike Ott 5th. And Sean Moran pulled out of this particular race and looking as though he's out of things in this particular Golden Helmet of 1990. But coming up to take the checker flag is a win for Mitch Shearer, 2nd place for Gary Havelock, and 3rd place to Lenny Jedek from Czechoslovakia. So 5 points to Mitch, 4 to Gary Havelock, and 3 to Lenny Jedek. Well, that was just one of the qualifying heats from the 2nd stage of this Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Now we come on to the consolation final of the 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. And in this particular heat, the consolation final is as follows. In red is Peter Randerek. In blue is Martin Dugard. In white is Lenny Jedek. In yellow and black is Kelly Moran. In green is Armando Castagna. And in black and white is Sándor Tihanyi. from Hungary. So sadly out of contention for these 6 riders, but there's still trophies to be won, there's still points money to be gained, and you can bet your bottom dollar that all these riders will be out for the win in this particular heat. Just to recall and just to remind you that these 2 heats, the consolation final and the grand final itself, will be both over 6 laps. So last minute adjustments for the rider Sándor Tihanyi from Hungary, who looked very, very impressive, of course, in that World Pairs final in non-shot, a meeting you saw exclusively here on Screen Sport earlier in the season, where he partnered, of course, Zoltán and Adorján, who sadly never made it through to the semi-final stages of this Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Along with Sean Moran were 2 of the casualties in the early stages of this event. So there we are, Van der Eyck, Dugard, Jedek, Kalimaran, Sándor Tihanyi and Amanda Castaño, the full lineup for the consolation final in the 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. Pictures as always coming from the hotshot cameras of Screen Sport. And this is heat number 31, the consolation final, and away they drive, and Castaño gets a good start. Castaño is in first place at the moment, second place in green, is in blue should I say, is Martin Dugard coming round the outside. So can Dugard come on to put pressure on Castaño? Kalimaran's there as well. Kalimaran in second place, Dugard now coming around the outside of Kalimaran. Fourth place is Tihanyi. There Dugard coming up to put pressure on Castaño. And just to remind you, 6 laps in this one, but it's Castaño first, Martin Dugard second, Kalimaran third. Lenny Jedek being overtaken now by Tihanyi. Jedek pulled up to a halt. Peter van der Eyck working fourth, and now all of a sudden it's Dugard that comes through to take the lead. Martin Dugard waited his time and through he comes. So Martin Dugard from, of course, the Oxford Skull Cheetahs camp there, sponsored by good old Charlie Dugard Engineering Tools down in Sussex, and he'll be pleased with life if he can hold on to win this consolation final. Get some beautiful cut glass from Czechoslovakia. Still Amanda Castaño in second place, Kalimaran third, and Sándor Tihanyi in fourth place, Peter van der Eyck fifth, and Lenny Jedek pulled up with engine problems. We've got on Martin Dugard, who's done the biz from the back, as we see them now into the final lap of this consolation final. Martin Dugard first, Amanda Castaño second, and Kalimaran third in that order, and that looks as though it's the way he's going to finish. But coming up to take the checker flag is Martin Dugard that wins. Amanda Castaño in second place, Kalimaran third, and Sándor Tihanyi in fourth place. So there we are, the youngster who's doing the good work for England in 1990. Reached, of course, his first ever world final at Bradford, where he enjoyed life. Very, very nervous indeed, young fellow on that occasion. But today, here in Czechoslovakia, he wins a consolation final, and he must be pretty pleased with life. So Martin Dugard is the first one home in the consolation final. Second place goes to the Italian Amanda Castaño. The American Kalimaran is in third place, and Hungarian Sándor Tihanyi is in fourth place. So now we come to the race that we've all waited for, the grand final of the 1990 Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet. 6 riders only, and one of them only will pick up the big Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet, and it literally is that, worth several £1,000s, and they keep that, of course, for themselves. So the full lineup for this particular heat: in red is Tony Casper, blue is Gary Havelock, white is Jeremy Doncaster, yellow-black Mitch Shearer, green Zdeněk Tassar, and in black and white is Paul Thorpe. So 3 riders from England, 2 from Czechoslovakia and 1 from New Zealand compete in this final heat. And just to recall, Jeremy Donker, of course, is the current holder. Tony Casper and Zdeněk Tassar are the 2 home-based riders. And Paul Thorpe and Gary Havelock in their first ever Czechoslovakian Golden Helmet would dearly have to win it. And Mitch Shearer, well, he's done it all before, and he's looked very, very impressive in the qualifying heats. Will surely be Doncaster's biggest danger, along with Gary Havelock, who certainly has come up. This is the grand final, 6 laps, and away they go. And the first to show is the rider in red, Tony Casper. Casper in red is the first to show. Jeremy Doncaster out, of course, in blue is Gary Havelock. just let Doncaster go. Doncaster comes down the outside of Tony Kasper, and Doncaster is through the pole place. 1 lap gone, Doncaster leads. Second place is Kasper and Gary Havelock in that order. And now Tassar coming up to put pressure on those two. Doncaster has done the business down the back straight on the first lap. With 2 laps gone, it's Jeremy Doncaster leads, Tony Kasper second, Zednik Tassar third, Gary Havelock fourth, and Jeremy Doncaster has already won this title once. Is he going to do it again? Now Gary Havelock comes down the outside of Zednik Tassar and is all action chaparral battles with 3 laps gone. The Bernasite kid doing some more skids. Here is all of a sudden Tony Kasper comes up and the crowd are going absolutely crazy here in Pardubice. I do hope you can hear us over the crowd's noise. Doncaster still with 4 laps gone. Still in second place is Tony Kasper. Tassar third. But all eyes are on the first two. It's Jeremy Doncaster holds on desperately. Tony Kasper now taking the inside line, coming up to put pressure on him. Oh my word, the noise, the atmosphere is electric. Doncaster on the outside and Kasper now comes up to take the lead. Kasper takes the lead, Doncaster back on him. My word, what a race. What a race as they come out of the final 2 turns. And it's going to be Doncaster the wins. Doncaster gets to the checker flag in first place. Second place is Tony Kasper. Third is Zednik Tassar. Fourth is Gary Havelock. Fifth, Mitch Shearer. Sixth, Paul Thorpe. But just look at Jeremy Doncaster. He's so pleased with life. Shaking hands with Tony Kasper, Gary Havelock and all the rest of them. But Jeremy Doncaster, of course, from the Reading 4X racers in England, who has done the work, but had to overcome a terrific challenge by Tony Kasper on the last lap. All the track staff, and there we see Martin Dugard, the first one out to congratulate him. His mechanic Dougie, and are we going to get the traditional bumps? We'll have to wait and see if they will. But there let's take another look at this exciting start of this grand final, and it really was a grand final. Doncaster gets the first drop, but he has to contend with the rider in red, Tony Kasper, who drives underneath him, and it's Doncaster who's at the moment on the outside. Gary Havelock and Tassar now come underneath Doncaster. At this moment it's Kasper who leads, but just look at Doncaster drive down the back straight, overtakes Tassar, overtakes Kasper and Gary Havelock at this stage. Kasper lifts, which gives Doncaster the initiative, and he drives around the outside of him, and from that moment onwards Doncaster really had the race in his pocket, bar for that last lap, when all the action really got fast and furious. But Jeremy Doncaster so desperately wanted to win this again. He's won it once, and he wanted to win it again. And there we see Doncaster in pole position. And let's take another look at that exciting last lap. As Doncaster now comes under pressure from Tony Kasper. Kasper at this moment in time takes the lead. But Doncaster wasn't done by. He knew what he had to do, keep his cool, keep calm, and there's nobody better, if you know him personally, than Jeremy Doncaster for keeping cool. Still it is Kasper, but Doncaster comes back on him, drops him going into the final 2 turns of lap 6 of this Czechoslovakian golden helmet, and gets to that checker flag in pole position, and that's first place, and gets another trophy for the mantelpiece for his lovely wife Pat to clean throughout the winter months. So there we see Jerry Doncaster getting presented with the Czechoslovakian golden helmet. All it remains for me to say is, on behalf of Screen Sport, this is Clive Fisher saying goodbye from Pardubice in Czechoslovakia.